Welcome to the LAN Cave. We're living as nerds, giving you gaming news like I do every single week. I'm actually solo this week, so apologies. I'm going to probably ramble quite a bit and stumble over myself, talk about things that I shouldn't be talking about, and get things wrong. But that's what happens when you're solo, I guess. You know, I don't have the normal banter and people to fact check me. This is an slump, post-E3 slump right now. Since E3 has finished, all of the news kind of dried up. Yeah, essentially, all of the good stuff has been announced. We're now in the dry spell afterwards. But we still have some news to give you. Thought I'd start out with Gears of War, the Gears of War movie. As we knew, this has been in development forever. The Gears of War movie apparently will have nothing to do, will not follow any of the games whatsoever, which I'm fine with. The plot will not follow any of the games. It'll be something completely different, which I'm actually happy about. If we're going to recreate the games again, if we're going to show the same storyline that we've already shown, it can be a little boring. Things need to be a little different, and I think that the Gears franchise can do that. I mean, we've followed a few people, sure they're the heroes, but we followed a few people in this world, similar to Star Wars. There's so much that can be, that they can dive into in this world that I think they've got plenty of room to play with, plenty of stuff within the mythology and the history. I think it's going to be pretty good. We've got Dr. Mario World announced, or I'm assuming it's announced because I didn't know about this thing. Honestly, this looks really fun. I wasn't a huge Dr. Mario fan. I knew what it was, but I didn't play it. I skipped like all of the handhelds, so I did not play this, I don't think, at all. But it's pretty cool. It looks good. I think this is going to fit very well on the Nintendo Switch, which is probably the best console out right now. You guys can fight me in the comments about that, but it's probably one of the most fun franchises that I haven't played, and I get that. So I'm just going to skip this because, yeah, having an off night. Anyways, Monster Hunter, the beta for the Monster Hunter, the Monster Hunter Iceborne stuff is going to be... I don't even have this in front of me. I'm not having a good solo show. Apologies, everybody. But the Monster Hunter beta has been announced. It is going to be PlayStation Plus members June 21st through the 23rd. All PlayStation members will get to play June 28th through the 30th. So, it pays to be a PlayStation Plus member, and I think it's a good amount of time to do it. It's 3 days. It's not a weird 4-hour window like Nintendo does sometimes. It just completely confuses everybody. So I think that's pretty cool. This is a game that I played and I liked, but essentially had to stop playing because it was like I'm doing the exact same thing over and over and over again. So I had to do something else. I was totally done with that. Switching gears just a little bit because apparently I don't have that other thing ready that I thought I had. We found out that Death Stranding will be at San Diego Comic-Con, along with, so Hideo Kojima will be there with Nicholas Winding Refn. I'm not familiar with him. He's a director, but I'm not familiar with him. I am familiar with Hideo Kojima, so very excited about this. It sounds like we're going to get some more insight into Death Stranding at San Diego Comic-Con, which I think is going to be really cool to have this at a non-gaming convention. I think is going to be really interesting. This is a game that defies a lot of the tropes of gaming, and it's going to be, I mean, it looks like it's not necessarily massive, but honestly, it could be. It looks like it's massive, but I don't know if it is. The question is, can I go to all these places? There's a lot of exploration, so I'm assuming that I can. Either way, the game looks gorgeous. It's probably going to mess with my mind like all of Hideo Kojima's stuff does. So I'm going to get it, I'm going to play it, and I'm going to love it. I should have talked about this earlier, but Nintendo's actually reevaluating their stance on streaming, which I think is great because they're playing way behind. As per Nintendo, they're playing way behind in regards to the market. But they're talking about essentially, they're talking about bringing up some games in streaming to the Switch, which they've tested out and it's an interesting technology, is what they've said about it. But it's interesting because there are so many people. Sorry, hey David. Yeah, it's just me today. Yeah, so it's interesting to me because everyone's moving towards streaming the games instead of having a physical copy, which is one thing that they mentioned, is having so many people buy things on the store instead of purchasing a physical copy of a game. It's definitely the future in a way. I don't think it's going to completely replace gaming for a long time. Just like I don't think digital is going to completely take over. I think there'll still be people who want a physical copy, and maybe in the next 6 to 8 years, I could see digital completely taking over because the internet's getting faster. We're getting 5G. There's more hope for people who are in remote areas to be able to have access to this type of to a decent internet connection, and that's what you need. Xbox was way too early when they were talking about having an always online console. They were way too early in that because I wouldn't say it's the majority of people, but I'd say most. I guess that's the same thing. I'd say most people are have a decent internet connection, but if you look geographically throughout the country, geographically speaking, so much of the country is still using very slow speeds. So streaming might not be a thing that they can do right now, but for me, yeah, my streaming connection's fine for that. I'm at 100, so I should be fine for streaming Google Stadia. I've signed up for Stadia, and plus, you sign up for it, you get the Stadia, you get the Chromecast. Yeah, oh, sorry, I was just reading. David said he wished he had a better mic so you could be temporary host. David, if you get a mic, you're more than welcome to jump on here and be a guest on our show. Not a problem. Yeah, so if you pre-order Google Stadia, by the way, you get a Google Chrome Ultracast, or whatever it's called. You get the controller, which is good because it needs to sync with Google, not with a physical, like your TV, or with the Google, with the Chromecast. And then you get 3 months for yourself and 3 months to guest for someone to hang out. So if you just do that and you don't renew your subscription, you get 3 months of playing. Okay, that's not very much, but from then on, you can play at 1080p. That's what people aren't realizing, is like you still have access. If you buy something through their store, you'll still have access to it with 1080p, and you'll have 4K if you spend the $10 a month. Now, $10 a month, if they're giving away a game or two a month, I can totally see this. Excuse me. I can totally see this being worth it. If they're giving away, like I said, a game or two a month, they need to do what PlayStation and Xbox are doing in regards to giving away some games. It's kind of part of the cost. Like, yes, I'm paying for access, but here's a little incentive. That's what those games are. But that also that builds a library for people, especially early adopters. Early adopters need those games because that way they can jump on more often. And then you get more people to jump in and start adopting this technology. This is very different. It could be the future, but it won't be the future unless that groundwork is laid out in regards to the player base. We need to have those adopters, early adopters of the next year or so after it launches, are very important. Anyways, I find it funny that Nintendo is talking about evaluating streaming, because Nintendo used to have a streaming. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it was Nintendo. Someone double check me on that. I'm pretty sure Nintendo had a modem you could hook up and would download games. I'm thinking about it. Maybe it's Sega. I may be wrong. I'm going to double check myself on that, but I thought it was Nintendo that had a modem you could download games and then play them. It was crazy early on. It was something that I want to say was just in Japan, but either way, moving on. I got some more news in regards to Marvel's Avengers. Release date's May 2020, which is good. That gives me 3 months to play Final Fantasy before this game comes out. Also, some people have been noticing in regards to the art style, but also comments made in the Spider-Man PS4 game that these two may exist in the same universe. I'm still waiting for to see an official statement on that, because whenever I see statements from developers that are not definitive, or they don't really have the power to say something like that, you have to take it with a grain of salt. And so many people will report on things because someone said, yeah, we wanted it to feel like the Spider-Man game, and then all of a sudden people will start reporting it's part of the same universe. I've seen that way too much. I'm not going to do that. But this game looks really fun. It looks, I would say, fun. The gameplay looks very cinematic, which is what they were wanting to go for on this. It's not really fun like Dr. Mario World, like we were talking about, but it's definitely something I'm going to check out. I really enjoyed the Spider-Man PS4 game, so totally going to check this one out too. Really interesting news at the end. I know this is going to be a little bit more a short episode, but I wanted to talk about this. Prince Harry he was slamming social media and quite a few things, talking about the addiction and how addictive social media is, which I completely agree. There are irresponsible game developers who are making games specifically to be addictive. People mention Fortnite and others, but I don't think Fortnite's necessarily addictive. It's not a carrot on a stick kind of game. But I would agree in regards to the predatory practices of developers that it's a problem. I'm fine with microtransactions if I'm buying something, like I'm buying a skin for a game. That's fine. That's my choice to buy it. Which honestly, Fortnite's a great example of that. You can buy new skins, new suits. You can buy whatever, but it doesn't affect the actual gameplay. It just makes your character look cool. Personally, I see that this is a problem, but we need to be very careful, or people that don't know what they're talking about need to be very careful when they talk about gaming as a whole versus very specific subjects. So they need to, in my opinion, he should, of course he's a royalty, literally royalty. He doesn't have credentials in regards to knowledge of the tech industry or video game industry. So, if I were him, I would have been talking about predatory practices of loot boxes, gambling, and that kind of thing, because yes, I can totally see that as being addictive. Anything is addictive that gives you such a quick reward. It's instant gratification playing a lot of these games, and yeah, that's going to make it addicting, but anything can be addicting depending on your personality. Video games are no more addicting than so many other things on this planet. Sugar is one of the most addictive things on this planet that no one will ever police. No one will ever police processed sugar. You have to police yourself on it, but at the same time, it lights up like similar sensors in your brain, the same sensors, and it's just as addictive as they're saying. Your addiction is similar to like one of a heroin addict, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, they've talked about video game industry being, causing more violence and all these other things, which it's proven that it does not, which I just find hilarious. But in fact, it does the opposite, because it allows you to vent some frustration. But I really was kind of irritated that I heard about this, because again, this is someone who could be using his platform to specifically target predatory practices, but he didn't. That's all I'm going to say about that, because apparently that's an older story. I didn't know. But anyways, this is a little bit of a shorter news week, like I said, with E3 just wrapping up last week. It's not that heavy on news, but next week we'll have a more show for you. Also, we're bringing back movie reviews and going to play some retro games this weekend. Saturday morning is going to be retro games time. So let me know in the comments if there's a specific retro game you'd like me to play. I'm playing NES and SNES games for the most part. I can get the PlayStation going as well. But let me know in the comments what you'd like to see me play. If there's a specific game you want to see me play, maybe a game that I've never played before, and try to beat it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, and we'll see you later.